there's that saying, right? How do you make the gods laugh? Make a plan.
Right.
Right. Best to keep your expectations low. Don't get too committed to one particular thing, but if you buy Bitcoin with no leverage, people are like, well, is it going to dump the thing? Well, I'm not buying it with 50x leverage or 100x leverage. If you buy it with 100x leverage and it goes down $200, you're getting wiped out. That's a problem. How about if you buy with no leverage? When you buy with no leverage and when it goes down by 90%, you're just sitting around asking yourself, is this the time to buy with whatever else I've got left? Or when it gets down to 95%, you're like, well, maybe is this the point for me to go all in? Right? So if you take a long view and you're, strong hands, that meme really just refers to take a long view. Don't leverage yourself too much. By the way, the sad fact of the matter is a lot of people that dump this stuff, they don't dump it because they got leverage. They dump it because intellectually they fell in love with this low volatility future. It's like they're thinking that they've got a stop loss 5% below the market. It's like creating, plans are like putting in stop loss orders. It's like, did you ever put a stop loss order on your daughter, your son? Like, would you put a stop loss order on something you loved? I don't think so, right? So in this particular case, my view is it's Bitcoin. Do I have a better option in the world? No. Would you do it if you knew it was going to work out badly? Yeah. Right? Would you do the right thing even if you knew you were going to suffer for it one day in the distant future? Yeah, I think so. Right? What's my option? To do the wrong thing? So I don't know what'll happen. I'm not terribly concerned about it because as far as I can see, it's the only obvious choice. If you're a technologist, make a list of all of the dominant technology networks that are going to change the world that are exploding in front of our face today, this year. My list has one thing on it. Okay? If you're a technologist, it's the one thing and everything else is not so compelling.
Michael Saylor has one piece of advice for Bitcoin investors. Keep your expectations low and don't use leverage. Saylor would have to have one of the highest convictions in the entire Bitcoin space. Since first investing in 2020, Saylor has been laughed at, ridiculed, and written off by his contemporaries and the media as Bitcoin has both exploded and then fallen 80% in price. In this video, Saylor explains his strategy, why he has a long-term view, and his plan is to just continue to buy Bitcoin and hold. To Saylor, as a technologist and an idealist, there is only one investment: Bitcoin. That's why he's invested close to $5 billion into it and will continue to do so. Make sure to stick around to the end of the video where Saylor explains why Bitcoin is the first time in history that we have pure, clean monetary energy. Also guys, if you want to stay most up to date on the crypto and Bitcoin world, make sure to subscribe to my daily 5-minute crypto newsletter. It gives the latest expert predictions, any breaking news, and top on-chain analysis all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description to join over 15,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now. Now here's Michael Saylor on his ultimate Bitcoin strategy.
If you're an idealist, make a list of something which has a chance to make the world a better place over the course of the next decade, and work your way down that list. What's at the top of your list? I got one thing at the top of my list.
Me too, brother.
Now, there's some uncertainty there, right? They say that successful people are optimists, and I believe it. And if you look on crypto Twitter, it's like you put something out there and you get 8,000 likes or 4,000 likes, and then you get 12 people, that will call you stupid because there's a shit coin that does something better, that's more quantum ray gun, immune or something. And you got to stop yourself Because first of all, only 1% of the people on Twitter are posting that kind of stuff. And so if you're reacting to the people that are tagging you with that, you're reacting to the 1% that are most pessimistic, cynical, snarky, conflicted, whatever. And so that's one reason not to react to it. But the other reason, the other point is that all those people that have all that negative energy, it's debilitating to them. It's like, I won't cross the street. I might get hit by a car. I can't buy that because a quantum computer might break it. I can't do that because someone might do this. I can't do that because I can think of 1/1000th of a situation in the distant future where it might hypothetically cause you to incur some legal liability that you might hypothetically suffer for. It's like just so much negativity, and you just shouldn't dwell on it. So when I forecast out, I'm like, there's going to be volatility. Bad things going to happen. I don't know what they are. It doesn't really matter. Make your decision. I made my decision. Make yours. We need to move forward. I'm not going to freeze to death. I'm not going to cower in my basement. I'm not going to engage in behavior which is obviously morally hazardous to my health, right? I just rather have the uncertainty of the other thing. I see Bitcoin and a crypto network as the mechanism for all of us to achieve, if not immortality of our own lives, then immortality of our values and our will. And by the way, if you listen to me for 8 hours and you still don't get it, right, you're not going to get it, right? Like, I invested $600 million into this thing. Here's 8 hours of me talking about it. Do you get it? Yes? No? Yes? Go crack your piggy bank, take your money out, put it in the Bitcoin network, leave it there. Wait for the world to get better. Not everybody's going to agree with me, right? But I don't need everybody to agree with me. I just need anybody to agree with me, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's my view. I could write, but it's like, we're back to that issue, right? Just because you can't do a thing doesn't mean you should do a thing. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of great writers. I'm happy to support them. I'm happy to promote them. When I feel like there's something that needs to be written that hasn't been written by one of them, I'll think about it. But, right now, if I got an entree with the board of Twitter or the board of Square and they gave me an hour, I'd go get on the Zoom and I would tell them why they ought to put $5 billion into Bitcoin for the good of their company, for the good of the world, to save their almighty soul. And then I would answer their questions. And that's probably the best contribution I could make. Because if I showed up with a book that I'd written about it, they would just roll their eyes. Certainly, I see the economy differently today. I see the world differently today. I have a different mission. I have a mission today that was not on my shoulders before. But we all need a reason to live, right? And I think this is a pretty good reason to live. I mean, it's the definition of hope. I mean, it really is. For a long time, right? And we can discuss when this started. Maybe it's just been forever. The people of the world have been struggling against the political current, right? Struggling against the political current. As you debase the currency, everybody has to fight their way uphill, and it's a struggle. And it got to be bigger starting in 1971, but we had it from World War I, and I guess people, dated back the fall of the Roman Empire, right? When they started debasing the currency and we plunged in the Dark Ages, right? You can trace a lot of the challenges of mankind to the lack of an effective currency, right? The human condition has struggled from toxicity in the currency, right? If Bitcoin is perfected or engineered monetary energy. Thomas Edison gave us electrical energy, and John D. Rockefeller gave us chemical energy. And the human condition has been dramatically elevated by chemical energy, electrical energy, and the human can, by the way, antibiotics, you could think of them, as biological energy. If you think about what's the impact of antibiotics, well, we go from living 50 years in 1900 to living 70 years in 1950. Okay, so did antibiotics matter? Well, if you wanted to live an extra 20 years, it mattered. Does electricity matter? Pretty obvious, right? There's no city on Earth without electricity. There's no skyscraper. Does oil matter? Absolutely. I mean, John D. Rockefeller drove down the cost of energy by a factor of 10,000 on the entire human civilizations based upon oil. If one man did more, right? It's hard to figure out who could have done more than that. So the humans have struggled under toxic, defective monetary energy for thousands of years, right? Gold was defective. It was defective before 1933 when Roosevelt seized it. It's always been defective. It was the least defective. I'm reminded that, well-meaning physicians bled George Washington to death, right? They bled him to death, right? Because blood was toxic, and so they bled him out. And it just makes, and that's why we don't really like politicians, right, to make decisions about blood transfusion. And so if we look through the history of man, elevation of the human condition has always been a function of engineering breakthroughs. When we got fire, that elevated us above the animals. That type of energy, and all of the other breakthroughs were aqueducts channel gravitational energy, right? So channeling of these energies, the chemical energy, the gravitational energy, the electrical energy, they were all really critical. And the human race has struggled under a defective monetary energy. And Bitcoin is the first true perfected monetary energy system that we managed to create. And it's not, people say it's a discovery. It's not quite a discovery, not in my opinion. I think it's an invention. It's like, for example, when we created AC current and we managed to electrify an entire city, right? That the breakthrough wasn't the discovery of electricity. If you got struck by lightning, you discovered electricity. The breakthrough was the engineering, the channeling, and the storage of electrical energy, right? Just like fire. Well, John D. Rockefeller didn't discover fire, and he didn't discover that, napalm burns, right? A lot of people the Greeks knew that napalm burned in Greek fire. He didn't discover it. He stored it and channeled it. And so Bitcoin is the storing and the channeling of clean monetary energy, sterile monetary energy.
So there's Michael Saylor and his pragmatic approach to Bitcoin investing. His unshakable confidence in cryptocurrency is a lesson in conviction and strategic planning. If you found Saylor's perspective enlightening and my content valuable, please consider subscribing. Your support helps us to bring more expert analysis and in-depth discussions to the table. Before we go, I'd love to hear from you. What are your thoughts on using leverage in Bitcoin investing? How do you manage your expectations in the volatile world of cryptocurrency? Share your experience and strategies in the comments below. Anyway guys, hope today's video provided you with some value. I'll see you all in the next one, and as always, all the best.